morning, students. Welcome back again. We were discussing about chapter number 3, that is deep water, right? That is written by William O. Douglas. Here in this chapter, the writer is talking about himself, about how he overcomes the fear of water, right? We have already discussed half part of the particular chapter. We are going to discuss the remaining half of the chapter today, right? So open your textbook. That is page number 27. Second last paragraph on page number 27. Right? A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades, I wanted to go into them. And whenever I did, whether I was wanting the Titian or Bumping River or bathing in the warm lake of the Goat Rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. It would take the possession of me completely. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab my heart. This handicap stayed with me as the years rolled by. In canyons, on main lakes, fishing for landlocked salmon, bass fishing in the New Hemisphere, trout fishing on the Deschutes and Metolius in Oregon, fishing for salmon in Colombia, and the Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. It ruined my fishing trips, deprived me of the joy of canoeing, boating, and swimming. Right? Before we move ahead, I'll tell you a little bit flashback what happens in the previous part of the chapter. Right? Here, the writer is talking about himself, that he has the fear of water, that is deep water. And what does the story begins? Right? He once goes to the beach with his father. He was being overcome by water at the age of 3-4 years. Right? At that point of time, he got this fear, and again, he tried to overcome this fear by going to the YMCA pool. Right? He enjoyed there for 3 to 4 days. One day, he was sitting alone on that pool, and there was one 18 years a physically strong boy came over there, and he threw that particular author into the pool. He went deep inside, and what happened at the end? He fainted. Right? And there were a few other people at the swimming pool that took the boy out. Right? He went to his home. He was shivering, and again he had got that fear. Which fear? The fear of deep water. Right? That was the thing. He tried actually to overcome the fear of water by going to the swimming pool constantly, practicing into the water. But what happened? A sudden boy coming over there, throwing the author into the swimming pool that was 9 feet deep. Right? He tried to overcome many times, but he failed. And at last he fainted in the swimming pool. He went to his house and remembering the same concept again and again. And for the second time, he again went into the pool, but his body become paralyzed. His body had become paralyzed. So he was not having that amount of strength to go again to the swimming pool to learn swimming, to overcome the fear of deep water. That was the story that we had discussed in part 1. Right? Now, what happens in this next paragraph is, after many days, again he goes to the sea for fishing, for canoeing, for boating. Right? But whenever he goes close to the water, that fear factor comes into his mind again. Right? Take out page number 28. Page number 28. See the first line, what the author tries to say in this first paragraph of the new page. Bass fishing, that is a kind of fishing that has been done in the sea. In New Hemisphere, that is a place. Trout fishing on the Deschutes, that means on the corner when he goes through the boat, right? And Metolius in Oregon, that is again a place where he goes for fishing on the Columbia. At Bumping Lake, that is the name of the lake. In Cascades, wherever I went, that means wherever the author went, the haunting fear of water followed him. Right? He tried to overcome this fear of water by going to the boating places, by going through boat to catch fishes, but whenever he went deep inside the water, right, again that fear haunted him. What kind of fear? The fear that he had experienced in the swimming pool, which was 9 feet deep. And why he had that fear? Because he fainted over there. He tried 3 to 4 times to overcome out of that swimming pool, right, which was only 9 feet deep. But he failed and he fainted. And the horror experience that he has got of that water, that was very fearful. That was still in his mind. So that was not allowing him to go to enjoy the boating rides or the fishing, catching places. That haunted fear constantly remembered him that the water is always deep. That the water is always deep. That was the conscious author, that is William O. Douglas, that was not able to go to enjoy all these rides. To go for fishing, to go for boat riding and all that things. All that things were not possible. Because that fear was constantly revolving in his mind when he used to see the water. Right? Next, what happens? I used every way I knew to overcome this fear, but it held me firmly in its grip. He tried each and everything to overcome of this fear, but the fear factor always won over his confidence level. You know, he tried many ways, he tried many different things, but at last the fear factor won. He was not able to go inside the deep water. Right? How does he overcome this fear factor? That is the climax of the story. Finally, one October, I decided to get an instructor and to learn how to swim. We got an instructor at the end of the October, and he decided, with the help of the instructor, I'm going to learn swimming. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week. Again, he goes to the pool with that particular instructor and he practiced 5 days a week, right? An hour each day, every day 1 hour. The instructor put a belt around me. What does he used to do? He used to wear a belt. He used to wear a belt, and one particular end was in the hands of instructor. So suddenly, if the author, drowns in the swimming pool, he obviously, catches that particular belt, so that the instructor will come to know that the boy is drowning. Right? This is how he learned swimming. Right? A rope attached to the belt went through a pulley, then ran overhead a cable. He held on to the end of the rope. He was holding on, that means the instructor was holding on to the end of the rope. Right? And we went back and forth across the pool, right? Back and forth across the pool, that is to and fro. They used to practice each hour, that is 5 days a week, to and fro, that is from this end to the other end, that is other end. Which end? Which is 9 feet deep, right? They used to practice every hour for 5 days a week, and this is how the author gained momentum. This is how the author gained confidence, by going into the deep water with the help of the instructor. And what was the main thing? That was the belt. That was being holded on by the particular instructor on the other side. On each trip across the pool, a beat of the panic seized me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under. Some of the old terror returned and my legs frozen. See what happened? Every point of time when the author was in the swimming pool, right, and he was learning swimming, at certain point of time the instructor was relaxing. He left the bed. Right, and he was relaxing in his own way. That was on the sitting in the corner. And every time he tried to relax and tried to, he left the particular rope free, the author started drowning. Each time the particular instructor tried to relax, right, and he left the rope free, the author started drowning. So in spite of getting confidence, again that terror was coming into his mind, because he started to drown again. Why he started to drown again? Because the instructor left the belt free. So again that old terror was coming in his mind. I am reading that line again. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under, some of the old terror returned and my legs frozen. Right? It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. 3 months he practiced constantly, and then the tension, started gradually decreasing. It took him 3 months to learn the swimming only in the pool. That means almost 5 days in 3 months. Right? So that is almost 70 to 75 hours. Constantly for 3 months he practiced each day. Right? 1 hour each day. At that point of time he got the confidence, to swim in the water. Only in the swimming pool. Right? It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. Then he taught me to put my face under the water and exhale and to raise my nose and inhale. Then the next step. After 3 months, the instructor taught him, how to put his particular head inside the water, come out, exhale, inhale, that same process. The second step, that means he taught to the author. Who is the author? William O. Dawkins. Right? That was the next step. Then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale and to raise my nose and inhale. That's the process. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times, bit by bit, slowly. I shed a part of the panic that seized me when my head went under the water. And even at that point of time, he was constantly practicing the second step. And when the head part goes inside the water, again that fear factor was coming into his mind. What happens if I put my face inside the water? Am I going to drown again? That was still the fear factor. See, it takes lot of patience, to get perfection to a complete work or to a one complete work. The author practiced 3 months, right? 3 months is a big long time to put perfection only in one activity. And still he was not getting the confidence. Every time the next step was being given to the author to put the head inside the water and try to inhale and exhale. And as soon as he used to put his face inside the water, again he has that fear factor in his mind. That if I'm going to drown, then what? Right? It takes a lot of patience to develop yourself. Everything is not as easy as it looks. You need to work hard. You need to, focus on one thing. And then at the end, it would give you good fruits. That is good results. Right? This is what we have to learn from this story. 3 months, that is almost 91 days. Right? 5 days a week, so 75 hours. Still he had that fear factor. Look at the hard work that the author is doing. This is what we have to learn. If you want to achieve something in your life, this is out of the box, but still as a student, it is much more important to learn this concept. If you really want to achieve something, you need to work hard. You need to be very patient. Right? Everything cannot be, given on the blink of an eye. It takes time to build yourself. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of patience. Right? Maybe at the end of the year or maybe after a few years, you will get your result. But you need to constantly move on. What if the author stopped? We'll just look on the negative side, which is not given in the textbook, as it is much more important for the students. What if the author stopped over here and he didn't got the confidence again to go into the swimming pool? Can he be a good swimmer in the future? Never. Right? There are always certain fear factors in your life also. You need to overcome that fear factors. Maybe as a student, in the terms of subject, there might be some subjects which looks hard to you and you try to avoid that subject. But is it the end result? No. If you avoid that subject, is that subject is going to be taken away from you? No. That is again going to follow you. So in spite of running from the difficulties, you need to face them, you need to work hard, you need to focus right? You need to be very patient. You need to learn each and every day, which is an important part of your study or the particular subject. Then only you will get perfection. This is what you have to learn as a student. This is what an indirect message that William O. Douglas is trying to give us. This is what the summary is. See, writer's journey, overcoming the fear of water. Here he had the fear of water. What is your fear? As a student of standard 12, subjects, agree. There might be subjects which looks very difficult or lengthy or tough to you, but you have to overcome your fear. You need to work hard, right? This is a specific, a very excellent example that has been given over here in this chapter. 3 months, and again when he goes for the next steps, that is when he puts his face down under the water, there is again that fear factor. Now what does he do? See, to overcome that factor also. Look into the text. Each time then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale and to raise my nose and inhale. I repeated the exercise 100 of times, bit by bit. I shared a part of the panic that seized me when my head went under the water. Next he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs. For weeks I did just that. See, again when he had that fear factor, what did the instructor do? He put the author aside on the corner, right? And he had to just kick his legs like this. He used to hold something on the corner of the pool and he had to just kick his legs for number of hours. For number of hours, right? For weeks I just did that. Right? At first my legs refused to work. Right? It is a very exhausting process. Right? If someone is holding you on the swimming pool like this and you have to just, raise your legs like this in the swimming pool, it is quite an exhausting process. Right? You get tired. At certain point of time, you want to give up. I don't want to learn swimming. But if you really have the patience and if you really want and if you really have the will to overcome the fear of water, you have to work hard. You have to be very patient. Right? You need to keep patience in yourself. And that would give you good results. Right? He was exhausted over here. William O. Douglas was exhausted. He was very tired. He did it for weeks. Right? Next, what it says. For weeks I did just that. At first my leg refused to work, but they gradually relaxed. And finally I could command them. And finally he had the command over his legs inside the water. Inside the water. For a number of weeks he practiced the same thing and finally he was able to control his legs inside the water. Thus, piece by piece, step by step, he built his swimmer, and when he had perfected each piece, he put them together into an integrated whole. Step by step, piece by piece, he gained the confidence of learning the swimming process. And he put it that all piece all together, and then he became a swimmer. Then he became a swimmer. Right? Piece by piece. As a student of standard 12, what is your piece by piece? Your different subjects. You might be good in accounts, then you might be weak in other subjects. You might be weak in other subjects, then you might be good in some other subjects. But does that make you a perfect student? No. You need to practice each and every subject, each and every piece, right, equally, and then put it all together. And that would give you a good result at the end of the year. This is what the author did over here. As students, I am making your example, so it would be you would be understanding that how this works. What is the real message of this story? Your piece, your different pieces are your different subjects. You need to learn each and everything if you want to overcome or if you want good results. This is what the author did over here in the swimming pool. Right? And he finally put all that pieces together and he became a swimmer. He became a swimmer. Right? April, he said, now you can swim. Dive off and swim the length of the pool, crawl stroke. That is on a single stroke. When did he started? He started in October. When he was a swimmer? In April. November, December, January, February, March, April. 6 months. 6 months he learned the process. Right? And after 6 months he became a swimmer. In 6 months he was tired, he was exhausted, he had that fear again in his mind. He wanted to quit. But the inner power, the selflessness, or the strongness of the inner self, that didn't allow him to quit. And then he became a complete swimmer in April. I did. The instructor was finished. Right now he was, easily going through from this end to the other end of the swimming pool very fast. That is what the author replies. I did. Right? So that was the end of the work of the particular instructor. But still I was not finished. That is what the author is thinking. But still I was not finished. Right? The author is thinking something very different. That is the climax of the story. I still wonder if I would be terror-stricken when I was alone in the pool. Now he wants to go into the pool when he is alone. I tried it. I swam the length up and down. Tiny vestiges of the old terror would return. But now I could frown and say to that terror, trying to scare me? Well, here is to you. Look. And off I go for another length of the pool. Right? That fear factor, now he's talking with the terror. He is talking to his fear factor that you are trying to scare me now. Will you make me deep down again inside the swimming pool? I challenge you that I'll jump into the water. Right? He's talking to himself, his inner self. What is his inner self? That fear factor that he had. Now I can swim. Now I can swim. I don't have any kind of fear. And if you want to challenge me, he's talking to his fear. Right? If you challenge me, I'm ready to go inside the pool alone, and I'll come from this to there, to and fro. And what happens? He goes to the swimming pool when no one is there. When he jumps into the swimming pool, he's totally alone, and he easily swims from this end to the other end. And thus he overcomes his fear. Thus he overcomes his fear. So this is the way you have to respond to your subject also. Alright? By showing good marks in the exam, by clearing all the concepts, by studying, by working hard. You need to challenge your fear. Don't run from your fears. If you run, they'll run faster than you. Right? And obviously they are going to be with you till the end of the year. This is the best example of your fear factor. This is what the author did, right? And he got success. But it took him more than 6 months. So that is patience. 6 months is almost 180 days, right? More than 180 days might be. This is what it is. This is the best example of success. Overcoming the fear. Here it is deep water. It might be different in your case. What is your fear factor that you need to come out of it? Think of it and try to come out of your fear factor, just like this author. Right? Now we are moving towards the climax of the story. This went on until July, but I was still not satisfied. He learned the swimming in April and he constantly used to go to the swimming pool alone till July. Right? But I was still not satisfied. I was not sure that all the talent had left. So I went to the lake. Now the author is going to the lake. Wentworth in New Hampshire. Dived off a dock at Tricks in an island. Now he is going to a lake which is an island, right? And swam 2 miles. 2 miles across the lake to Stampact Island. From one island to the other island. What is the name of the other island? And Stampact Act. That he goes from this end to the other end. 2 miles is almost, 1 mile is almost, if I am not wrong, is 1.5 kilometers. also, right? So he dived into that particular lake and almost crossed 3 to 3.5 kilometers from this island to the other island. Now he is challenging himself, he is challenging his fears. Right? Now that I can even swim in the lake. And he swam across almost 3 to 3.5 kilometers. 3.5 kilometers is a very long distance. Right? If you are a new learner, right? If you have already learned something, and if someone says you that you have to travel from this end to the other end, it takes a lot of time. But he challenged himself, right? And he went into the lake for almost 3 to 3.5 kilometers. From one corner to the other corner of the island, right? I swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, and backstroke. 3 different ways of swimming, right? Only once did the terror return. At one point of time, the terror returned when he was swimming in that island. When I was in the middle of the lake, I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. At one point of time when he was swimming and when he was in the middle of the lake, he put his face inside the water. That is what the instructor had told him to do in the swimming pool of the next process. Right? The next step that he was learning. He tried to do the same thing in the lake, and when he put his face under water, at that point of time, right, the fear factor returned for a few seconds. Right? I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. The old sanitation returned in miniature. That means on a very small level. I laughed and said, now he is laughing at his fear. Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? It fled and swam on. The confidence was so strong in the author that the terror was not able to overcome on his confidence level. Right? This time the confidence level won rather than the fear factor. Right? Yet I had a residual doubts at my first opportunity. I hurried west, went up to the Tition, to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creeks trail to the immediate glacier, and camped in the high meadow by the side of Long Lake. The next morning, I stripped, dived into the lake. Again, in the next morning, he goes and dives into the lake again and swam across to the other shore and back. Right now, he is practicing constantly in the lake. Rather than going into the swimming pool, he is going to different islands and different lakes of different names that have been given over here, and he is practicing in the lake. Right? And swam across to the other shore and back. Just as Dog Corpon used to do, that he was a great swimmer. Who was a great swimmer? Dog Corpon. Right? He used to do the same thing when he was a great swimmer. He used to swim in the lake. Now the author is going to his level, right? And going to the lake where this Dog Corpon used to go. Now he is going to that places, diving inside the water, coming from this end to the other end. So you see the confidence level that is rising in the heights of in the minds of the particular author. He is getting confidence day by day. He is getting stronger day by day. Right? Next. I shouted with joy. He was very happy. So he shouted with joy. And Gilbert Peak returned the echo. I had conquered my fear of water. Right? The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it and can appreciate it. Right? It is a time of joy for him, as he was, totally overcoming out of that fear factor. Right? And once you overcome your fear factor, you will be the most happiest person. Right? If something bad is happening with you, something wrong is going with you, right? You might be depressed and sad today. Right? At one point of time, he was shivering, right? He was not even able to eat food. That were the worst days when he went into the swimming pool and was drowned. But look at today. He shouted with joy, right? Now he was going in the lakes, he was going in the islands, right? From one end to the other end. So if there are some bad days or tough times in your life, be patient. Focus on your work. Be yourself. Move ahead. Don't think of the negative things. Try to work even more harder. Obviously, at certain point of time, it is going to give you an excellent result. One bad day or one weak day, right, that doesn't make you a negative person. You need to stand up again if you fall. You need to stand up again if you fall. And this is life. That is what you have to overcome your fears. And that will build your confidence level. Right? It took him 6 months, this guy, that is William O'Douglas, it took him 6 months to understand all these things. To become a perfectionist. Right? And after 6 months, he got the joy. 6 months of hard work that converted all the sadness, all the negative parts into the joy and the positive things. Right? Everything takes time to develop. Patience is the most important thing as a student in your life. If you fail, it's okay. Look at the reasons why you failed. Try to put that reasons as a land of success. Okay, next time I'm going to get the success. I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to get this. I'm going to get something extra, which is what I actually deserve. And this is how you need to work hard and overcome your negative factors. Right? This is the best example through which we understand from this chapter or through this story, that is deep water. Right? And moving towards the last paragraph. The experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate. In death there is peace. There is terror only the fear of death. Once you die, there is a total peace, right? But there is terror only in the fear of death. There is terror only in the fear of death. When you are alive, there is always a terror. That is, what if I die? That is known as a terror. But once you die, it is all the peace. Right? That is what the author is trying to say. As Roosevelt knew what he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. All we have to do is fear itself. Try to understand this line. All we have to fear is fear itself. Try to understand this line, what it says. Right? If we constantly focus on the negative things, we would never be coming to the positive factors. If we constantly focus, I have this fear, we are never going to move ahead in our life. Right? That fear factor, how does he overcome? We have seen in this story. Right? This is how we have to overcome our fears, rather than focusing on fear itself. Because it is going to stay if you focus on the negative things. They are never going to leave you. There are always negative things in your life and they are always going to stick to you. But if you focus on those things, you never would be looking on the bright side of your life, on the positive side of your life. Imagine the author focused and stick to his negative factors that I'll never learn swimming, I'll never go to the water. Can he be a good swimmer? He would be a good swimmer? No, never. If you want to overcome your fear factors, you need to go inside the deep water and come out of it very strong. Don't run from your fears. If you run, they are going to run faster than you and they will be standing in front of you again. This is what we have to understand from this story. Right? Moving towards the last line. I had experienced both the sensations of dying and the terror that the fear of it can produce. They will to live somehow grew in intensity. At last, I felt released. At last, the author felt released, free to talk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside the fear. He was talking, he was, walking on the fear factors. He was talking with the fears, as we have seen. He was walking on his fear factors now. Rather than the fear factor used to walk on him or to talk with him on the previous particular paragraph that we have seen. He was walking the trials and climbing the peaks, that is, he was climbing on a very higher level, and to brush aside the fear, to move the fear out of his life. Right? This is the end of the chapter, that is chapter number 3, deep water. Right? This is how we can, even in our own individual life, try to overcome or try to come out of the fear factor by going deep inside the water. What is the deep water? It is not the physical deep water. It is what our fear is. This is just a story, a concept that has been given by William A. Douglas talking about himself. Here he says about his deep water. What is our deep water? Subjects, life, maybe anything. There are always going to be certain hardships in your life. You need to overcome that. But you need to constantly practice, constantly work hard, be patient. At the end, you are going to get success for sure. That is for correct. And that is for granted. No one can take your knowledge from you. Right? Your knowledge is always going to be with you. No one can copy you. Right? There are always certain things which are going to remain with you. Your knowledge, your creativity, your skills. Right? With all that things, you can develop yourself. You can take out of your negative factors. You can come out, be strong enough and stand in the world. Right? This is one of the best examples the writer has given as he talks about himself of overcoming the fear of deep water. Right? So this is the end of chapter number 3. I hope this chapter was quite interesting and it made or gave you a good message in your life how to come or overcome your fear factors. Right? Those who have not watched part 1, it's a request to all the students to watch part 1 and then move to the remaining part of the chapter. Right? So you can again write down the summary. Those students who have not written it, write down the summary again. This will be again helpful in remembering the chapter, the summary of the chapter. I hope this concept is quite interesting in your life, so you can overcome your fear factors. Right? Thank you.